Yo everybody, welcome to my channel. This story about what if Naruto Jinchuriki of Sukuna, chapter 3. Let's start.
Naruto saw the bright light appear before him. Nothing was visible to him anymore, but he did hear something in the distance. Come closer. Walking in the direction of the voice, he soon saw the light dim and he soon found himself dropping his hands. There in front of him was a sight he never thought he would. Again. It was Konoha, the gate to the village. What in the? Calm down, it is an illusion. Really. It looks and feels. That's how the machine works. It will test you, see your mental strength and if you are worthy. Stay strong, I can't communicate with you much due to mock. Sukuna. Nothing. He could hear nothing and he frowned. Naruto. Turning his head, he saw Sakura standing there at the gate with Kakashi and Sasuke. Where were you? I was out and about. Sakura frowned. That's no good, you have to let your team know when you going out of the village. I mean, we are teammates, right? We are supposed to stick together. Naruto frowned. It was only for a bit. Sakura sighed while Sasuke snorted. Like always, Dobi, always running off when we need you the most. Like you're one to talk. Sasuke raised an eyebrow while Kakashi smiled. Now children, no fighting. Come on, we are heading to the tower to report back to the Hokage. Naruto rolled his eyes. Sure, let's go see the hag. Huh? Naruto turned to the confused expression on Kakashi's face. What, the hag is sitting there waiting for our report, isn't she? Naruto, I wouldn't call the Hokage that. Naruto rolled his eyes. Sure. Naruto quickly dashed through the gate and walked through the tower at breakneck pace. The minute he saw the Hokage's door, he kicked open. Hey hag, what do you need? Hag. Naruto, I assure you I'm more of an old man. The voice made him freeze up. No, not him. Anyone but him. Sitting at the desk, it wasn't Tsunade. It was someone that made his eyes water and his heart ache. Old man. The Hokage smiled. Hello Naruto, how was your mission? Naruto felt his body frozen. He couldn't move, he couldn't speak. His body was just numb. There he was, in front of him again. The Hokage, the old man that was his only family in the entire world, the man that did his best for him. He was right there, as if nothing happened. No, this is an illusion. It is not real. Naruto. The Hokage walked out from behind his desk and frowned. Are you okay? This isn't real. The Hokage laughed. Sure it is, my boy. I'm looking at you right now. Naruto shook his head. No. 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 He held his head. You're dead. I know you're dead. You died fighting Orochimaru. You died giving your life in. For Konoha. Tears started falling down his face. But for what? What good did it do for you? The village spat on you. Treated you like garbage after your death just by throw your stuff out. Not caring about the legacy you left behind. You were treated as an afterthought by the council. Everyone seemed to be just ready to move on. Naruto. No. You weren't able to see Konohamaru again. You didn't get to tell him how much you loved him. You didn't get the chance to see your wife again. You won't be able to. Sobbed. It doesn't matter how much I think about it, how much I wish it wasn't true, but you're gone. Dead. Naruto. He felt a soft hand on his head and he slowly looked up at the man smiling at him. Is that how you truly feel? That I wasted my life for the village? Naruto looked at him and he looked down while gripping the floor. Making splinters appear. I do. I feel like you made a promise you couldn't keep. You tried to be a hero to people around you that didn't want you to be a hero. You fought for me more than anyone. And still you were overshadowed by the people that wanted to do me harm. You, his tears flowed down his face. You didn't deserve to die for a selfish place like Naruto. No, I refuse to believe that Konoha was worthy for dying for. What good has it been for me growing up? All alone, everyone treating me as a curse, almost killed as a child. To one child pranking me so badly. I can't stand it. Just thinking of how the village spat on your grave. Naruto. He put his hands on his shoulders and Naruto looked up to see the sad expression on the old man's face. Do you truly hate Konoha that much? Naruto looked down. Yes, I hate Konoha more than anything in the world. All they have ever done to me is lied and cheated me. I was treated as a pariah for something out of my control and something that was forced on me. You tried your best, maybe made a lot of mistakes down the line, but you at least gave two shits. Everyone else I had to myself of being worthy of love and affection, and even then, it was all fake. Then if you had the chance, would you burn Konoha to the ground and massacre all your enemies? Naruto looked up and saw the frown on the man's face. No, 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 I refuse to give them my attention. I refuse to validate their existence to me. Did I want to destroy the village after the blood prison? Yes, yes I did, but at the same time, realized it wouldn't do anything but continue a cycle. A cycle of vengeance and bloodshed, something that can't seem to be stopped no matter how hard we try. He wiped eyes, standing up and looking at the Hokage, but I realized that the best way to get back at people is to just move on. Leave them in the past while I pursue the future, all I ever wanted in life. He smiled, but I guess, there are some things that I can't leave behind no matter how hard I try. He cried, I miss you, old man. Naruto. He smiled, I miss you too. But I'm proud of the man that you are becoming and the life you have created for yourself. He then turned to face the village thrug. Window, it is true that I made many mistakes in my life, but the one thing I'm glad I did is raise you. He smiled, while I wasn't as hands-on, I am happy that you took aft in the ideal of leaving the past behind and forging for the future. Yeah, Naruto smiled, sometimes I wish I could see you one more time and tell you all the things I wanted to tell you. How sorry I was, for not being stronger to help you. I loved you more than anything in this village. And how sometimes I didn't care that I never carried blood from your family, you were my only family. I know, Naruto, but I can't stop being proud of you. 4. Forging ahead and blazing your own path. Sometimes, I wonder if you are the redemption I was given for my past mistakes. Hiruzen sighed, but then again maybe this is why we are meeting today. Naruto turned and saw the world slowly fading. It seems our time is up. I'm glad we had this time to talk, Naruto. Wait, it's really you. But I thought the machine was just making an illusion of you. He laughed. Wherever you go, Naruto, always remember, no matter your decisions, I will always be proud of you. Because the will of fire, it burns brighter in you than anyone else. Naruto saw his body starting to fade. Wait, no. Please don't go again. I have to, Naruto, but I'm always watching over you. Just like they are. Naruto reached out for Hiruzen, but his body disappeared and all that was left was a white room. Naruto fell to his knees and cried. Old man, please. Come back. Please come back. Naruto. Naruto looked up. Please, I don't want to. I know. But your weapon is in front of you. Naruto looked up and saw a dark black staff in front of him. It had intricate markings on it and some old script written on it. Reaching out, he touched the weapon and soon the world turned dark. A sliding door was heard and Naruto looked behind him and saw the exit. Walking to the door, Naruto could only feel somber. Hey kid, Sukuna, I really don't want to talk about what I saw. Please, just leave me alone for a bit. Okay. Reaching the door, Naruto turned around and frowned. You're watching over me, huh? I guess that's why I never gave up. He smiled, and I still won't. Walking out of the chamber, he saw Beelzebub standing there. He had a cane in his hand with a skull as the pommel. Hey, he frowned, rough time. Yeah, don't particularly want to talk about it. Beelzebub nodded. Cool staff. Naruto looked at it and smiled. Yeah, from what I gathered, this is some kind of weapon designed for my new style. Naruto swung the staff around and concentrated his ki into it, with it releasing a powerful slam into the ground. The room started to shake and Naruto smiled. Oh yeah, I'm going to love experimenting with this. Beelzebub smiled. I understand you're feeling my weapon is the same way. But we can practice once we are out of here. He turned his head, although I wonder where our guide went off to. Naruto looked around the room and agreed. Buddha was nowhere to be seen. It seemed like he just wandered off somewhere or he didn't expect them to survive. But then, he had the means of unlocking and locking the place, so, if that was the case, why was the door open? He was more confused. Naruto and his brother walked out of the chamber and shut the door while Naruto allowed Sukuna to take over. Geez, hate people messing with this, so gonna lock this back up. He went through 2 hand signs and soon the place glowed with an ominous purple and black color before. Handed control back over to Naruto. Okay, now we find our so-called scout. Once the brothers reached the surface, they saw Buddha, but he was standing next to a pile of dead people and doing a silent prayer for them. May you find peace in the next life. He turned. Oh, I see you both passed your trials. Congrats. What the fuck happened? Well, flashback. Buddha wandered to the surface again while concealing the entrance under an illusion. Geez, kinda doing something here, can you guys come back later? Out of the tree line came a few figures. One was a man-like figure with horns growing out of his head, dark red eyes, and blue skin. He had fangs in his mouth and dark scales around his face. Another was a woman-like figure with the bottom of a horse and carrying around a weapon in her hand. Buddha saw that it was a bow with some arrows in a quiver on her. Next to her was another horned man and another woman with snake skin and dark yellow eyes with slits. So, again, can I help you? The man growled. Move. We seek the tomb. Oh, you mean the machine? Buddha picked his ear. Yeah, sorry, not going to happen. I'm afraid that this is off limits to the likes of you. Us. The woman with the bow pulled out an arrow and aimed it at him. Her bowstring pulled back and ready to end his life on the spot. We said move, human filth. This doesn't belong to your kind. Buddha rolled his eyes. Yeah, well, it sure doesn't belong to someone like you either. He raised his hands over his head and yawned, but if you guys really want to try your luck, then fine. Hee. Palm out and his weapon appeared in his hand. Let's play then. The woman fires an arrow at him. Buddha tilts his head to the side while placing his weapon on his shoulder with a bored expression. Want to try again? She growled, pulling out 2 arrows and firing them. Both arrows missed him as he just took a small step to the side. What in the hell? Buddha smirked. Come on, you gonna have to do better. He ducked. The man with the horns and red eyes had appeared behind him with a strike aiming for his head. I see, so you use your chakra to blend into the shadows of the tree and attack me from them. Meaning that you can only access the shadows and travel based on them all. Connecting. Which is the reason why you're so confident in the forest. The man growled and dipped back into the shadow. But he appeared yet again and aimed his claws at Buddha's throat. He grabbed his offending hand with his free hand and threw him over his shoulder. Man, you guys are pretty weak. The other male demon roared and held his hand out, and he saw some kind of red energy forming in the palm of his hand. Huh, how annoying. Buddha took a step forward and kicked off to the right. The ball of red energy missed him and the monsters were confused about how he was predic them. Where? How? Buddha appeared behind the second female demon. Sorry about this. Buddha reached out his free hand and grabbed her by the back of her neck. A quick twist of the wrist, the neck snapped, and she fell to the ground dead. He turned and dodged around another swipe from the man in the shadows, who growled and quickly ducked back into it. Buddha sighed before closing his eyes and stood there. A hand reared out of the shadow, reaching for his back. But the hand was grabbed by his hand and he was pulled out of the shadow. He growled and swiped at Buddha, who quickly released his hand and sent a straight kick to H. Stomach. The man crashed into the tree and found his neck stomped on there. The tree gave way from the impact alone, but the man died from the sickening sound. 2 left. Turning around, he focused on the woman with the bow, who fired 3 arrows. He held his staff up and in a flash of light a shield appeared blocking the arrows. They hit the shield but flew away from him. The woman found 1 arrow in her side, another in her neck, and the final arrow in her head, killing her before she could hit the ground with a massive thud. Then there was one. The man roared and held both of his hands close. Soon a dark red orb started materializing in his hands and the energy started to form into the shape of a sphere. Die. The man aimed the sphere in the direction of Buddha, who just raised an eyebrow. Okay. The energy ball flew from his hand and went straight into the shield. Should warn you, he spoke from behind his shield. This shield doesn't just reflect attacks away such as arrows, but it also sends them straight back at full force. The energy orb left the shield and flew right back at the man who held his hands out to stop it. The orb shifted ever so slightly and crashed through the man's neck, causing blood to explode out of the wound. His body hit the ground with a thud and his eyes dulled while Buddha turned his shield back into his staff. Well, that was messy. He walked over to the bodies and after grabbing the 2 bodies on the side, he put them close together. The monsters in question were put close, with their arms over their chests. The man sighed before putting his hands in a praying motion. After the silent prayer, he turned to see his 2 new friends staring at him in shock or boredom. Flashback ends. And that is what happened. Naruto raised an eyebrow and saw that everything he said matched up, but he was still confused. Who were they though? Don't know. Buddha shrugged. Probably people so consumed by dark chakra they couldn't see straight anymore. Buddha sighed. Sad they had to die, but I wasn't abo. Let them hurt me or you guys. Naruto nodded. Well, should we just burn the bodies? I feel like burying them is a bad idea given we don't want to attract attention to this spot. Buddha rubbed his chin and after snap of his fingers the bodies caught fire. Well, that should end this mess in a flash. He waved his hand around and with another snap of his fingers, the flames dissipated leaving nothing behind. Naruto had to admire the level of skill he was demonstrating. It was unusual to see someone produce such control currently without using hand signs to pull it off. But him, just snapped his fingers, rolled his wrist, and snapped one more time and it was done. Nothing he had seen outside of Sukuna was this impressive. So, Buddha walked up with a smile on his face. Looks like your weapons are pretty cool. Beelzebub touched his skull cane. Yeah, I think mine works in conjunction with my power, so it should be useful. But I feel like there is more hidden in its power that I have. See, so it is going to be interesting. Indeed. Naruto held out his staff. I think mine is a reflection of my new path. I'm not 100% sure what it can do, and while not as impressive as either of your weapons, mine has something that is more than meets the eye. Naruto twirled the staff in his hand and then swung it down. The minute his staff hit the ground, the earth cracked under the impact and he smiled. Now then, Naruto focused his chakra into his staff and aimed it upward. Let's see if this works. Naruto imagined wind appearing around his staff and he soon found the out of the tip of his staff. Smiling, he swung his staff and released a large gust of wind, sending it flying through the air and into the nearby trees. At first, nothing happened, but then the trees slowly slid off the base and onto the ground. Naruto nodded his head. So this staff works in conjunction with my chakra and what I want to do with it. Indeed. Beelzebub rubbed Naruto's head, but we'll have more time to practice when we are away from here. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Stop rubbing my head. He smiled. Sorry little brother, but it is just fun to see you so annoyed at such a simple thing. Naruto growled. Beelzebub smiled and Buddha laughed. Man, you guys are funny. He smiled. I've decided. Decided what? I'm going to be joining both of you on your journey. Naruto's eyes widened while Beelzebub stopped his action and stared. Why on earth would you do that? He smiled. Because I want to. Buddha walked up to them. Besides, I think traveling with friends who you can one day call your family is more interesting than traveling alone. So, where to first? Naruto sighed. This guy was an enigma even by his normal standards. I mean, he was sure he was this pragmatic at a point, but he was also realistic when he encountered strangers in the past. But this guy, he was just out there. He already had his mind made up and was convinced they were going to let him tag along. Then he thought about it. How would they him from tagging along? He could follow them in the distance or follow them closely. There was no reason he couldn't. They also couldn't stop him physically, as neither of knew his full strength or talent, so what is really stopping him? Besides, Naruto didn't mind the guy too much and did see him as a reflection of him as a child, but also mature enough to handle the weight of the world. While he loved Beelzebub, traveling with him another person wouldn't hurt. Turning to him, he saw his brother shrug. Up to you. Naruto nodded. Welcome aboard, Buddha. He smiled and threw his arm around his neck and smiled. Call me big bro. Not gonna happen. Oh, it will. After all, if he is your older brother and I'm older than him, that means I'm big bro. So, let's get moving. Naruto sighed. He wondered if he would regret this decision down the line. Naruto and his two brothers are sitting around a table at dinner. Buddha was stuffing his face with everything he can enjoy while Beelzebub and himself were just eating. They had more table manners. Not that he was a slob, but Naruto couldn't tell if he was inhaling his food or actually enjoying it. So what now? Naruto put his chopsticks down. What should we do? Buddha gulped down his food. What do you mean? I mean, we have to decide what we are doing next. Naruto sighed and leaned back in his chair. Right now we have what we wanted from this area, so we should leave resting for the night. But the question is where we should go from here. Buddha scratched the back of his head. Wave. Naruto shook his head. No, we can't put them in any more danger than we already have. Hiding me was probably enough trouble for them as a whole. If the leaf sends ninja, we could be spotted, and let's face it, I have a very recognizable face. He sighed, that and if they are tracing my steps they are going to go to wave eventually and might be a political matter I want to avoid. The two nodded. Then what about one of the other nations? No. Naruto held up his fingers. Kiri is currently in the midst of a civil war. If we went there we would either be killed or dragged into their conflict. He tapped his second. Kumo would want to use us for breeding material for their military, and given how bloodline obsessive they have been over the years it makes sense. Naruto tapped his finger. Iwa, that place is just a powder keg as I look like the fourth Hokage, meaning if we go there someone might attack us just on that principle alone. The two brothers nodded. It was sound reasoning and they too wanted to avoid unnecessary conflict. What about a minor country? Buddha sighed. If we did that and Konoha found him, they would surrender him in a heartbeat to avoid a war with them. He snapped his fingers. We can't hide in Kusa or any of the other nations as there is already tension all around thanks to the invasion and death of the third. Plus with the prison probably already known and the box I was in destroyed, people are probably scouring everywhere for information. True. Buddha snapped his fingers. What about the bending nations then? The two brothers looked at Buddha. Think about it, they are in their own conflict so we can hide out there. Also, the rumor of the Avatar has always intrigued me so I want to see what kind of person the Ava. Plus, they have no ties or loyalties to the elemental nations so that means we can just go there and not worry. Yeah, but the war that is brewing. Beelzebub frowned. Should we really be taking it that casually? We don't know how powerful they are over there. Plus who knows, other shinobi might have fled there too. Naruto sighed, but he does have a point, it is one of the few places in the world we would be safe and not tracked on a regular. Unless we start something. Naruto rolled his eyes. Yeah, unless we start something. But again, it is our best option. It takes what, about 3 months to get there? Yeah, then we can be there by the end of the year and start our new year in a new place. Buddha smirked. Okay then, all in favor for the trip? Buddha raised his hand, Naruto raised his own, and Beelzebub raised his hand. I didn't disagree, seeing the disbelief on their faces. I'm just saying that it seemed to be an option, we are just looking at the positives and not the negatives. Naruto nodded. He understood his reasoning, he really did. But at the same time there was no reason to hesitate in this situation. So, tomorrow we head to the Bending Nations. Maybe while we are there I can master this Kai blocking fighting style I'm using. Buddha smiled and his eyes lit up. I can learn all about the monks in those lands and the path of the Avatar. I can't wait to meet the legendary being that is said to Rienka 100 times over. Beelzebub sighed. I'm more curious about their Kai and how it relates to chakra and if it is possible to replicate. Naruto frowned. You're not going to experiment on people, are you? No, trust me, I won't. He sighed. I'm not going to cross that line, but I will want to witness and understand how it is different from us and how we can master it if possible. Naruto and Buddha nodded before Naruto picked his drink up and smiled. To new beginnings and to our family. Family. Both brothers joined Naruto in clinking their glasses together and planning out what they need for the trip ahead. Tsunade was not pleased, not in the fucking least. She was so agitated she just wanted to murder those bastards on the council. Just thinking of their heads popping off shoulders like bottle caps was just enough to make her want to do it. Shizune expressed concern for her, especially since she wasn't drinking for more than a month and now seems to be throwing herself into her work more. God damn it, where are you, Naruto? The Lord had made it clear that Konoha was in a lot of trouble. With the revelation of who Naruto's parents were and the facts of his treatment and the lies played against. She was aware that the Lord had all of them taken back to the capital and punished extensively. While she was curious, she heard from Asuma it was best not to ask. Staten. Are things there that are just better not known for their own safety. She left it at that. But now, they were trying to find Naruto without using the toads, which proved difficult. Their lord ordered them to investigate the blood prison, and upon arriving there her shinobi reported the massacre. Apparently the whole place was gone. Nothing was left but skeletons and dry blood that was smeared all over the place. Hearing this, she was terrified of what was awaken inside of the prison, since there were rumors that the box of eternal bliss was somewhere in their country. No one knew where exactly, but they knew it was out there in T. They had to find the damn thing. It was the one thing that all the major villages agreed on, finding the box and removing it from the equation once and for all. The next report made her blood run cold. The box was destroyed. Nothing the world had done could destroy that damn thing. Nothing could break it, and nothing could stop the box. From what they understood, that damn thing indestructible, which is why removing it and hiding it was the best option for all. However, hearing this news made her fear the worst. Naruto was put into the box and he came out of it alive. But what changed about him? What did he see inside the box that just broke him so badly? Was her betrayal that bad? Did Jiraiya never coming to save him have an affect? She knew that they needed to find him and explain the situation to him, but she was sure of one thing: he would never trust the village again. Why would he? They betrayed him, spat on him, gave him nothing but heartache, and now they are hunting him down because of the Kyuubi. Why should he swear loyalty? Them. The Lord understood this but feared leaving someone like Naruto without someone to guide them was a bad thing and offered to take the boy into the palace as a way to pee him from all that wanted to exploit him. However, they first had to find out where he went. But that was only the beginning of their troubles, and she knew it the minute she heard a knock at the door. Come in. Entering the room, she saw the familiar form of Tazuna. She heard about this from the report where Naruto helped inspire their country to stand up to the tyrant that ruled them, allowing them to be free of his rule and gaining prosperity. Konoha had a good trading deal with them, and it was something that she feared losing. Tazuna, it is good to see you. The old man looked at her and walked into the office. I think we need to speak in private. Because this is something serious. Tsunade frowned and ordered the Anbu out of the office. Once the seal was up, she motioned for him to continue. The man took a sniff of his drink before putting it down. This was a surprise, as from what she was told he was quite the drinker. To be honest, I'm here to talk to you about the matter relating to our trade agreement. Oh. While I might not be a shinobi or run a powerful village, I refuse to work with a village that spat on the face of someone that was our savior. That pit feeling was coming back. What do? Don't condescend me. He sighed. Naruto stopped by wave a few months back. Her eyes widened. That meant he was going to familiar places. Meaning they could. He left more than 2 months ago and we have no idea where he went. Just that he was leaving and heading off in a direction with another young man. A young man. Interesting, that meant Naruto was starting to find allies, which is both good and bad. Good that he has someone to watch his back, but bad as they don't know. Was working for the Akatsuki. Thank you for telling us, as we are currently looking for your prized weapon. Tsunade's eyes widened. Yes, he told us about how he was treated as a weapon. How the village treated him as a child, what he went th. What happened on his last job where he stopped that traitor from running off. He then told us what happened while he was in the prison. He gripped the bottle. It was so horrifying that he couldn't tell us everything. But I could see it, the evils that were committed to that child. He was a changed man. I saw it. His eyes were wary, his mouth half-truths, and he seemed to carry so much pain on his shoulders it made me want to cry. My daughter has been in tears after learning what happened to him and tried to smother him with love and affection. He sighed. But it was not enough. I know that look better than anyone. He is a survivor of the worst conditions and he is not someone want to trifle with. Tazuna. No, your actions say more than enough. I promised Naruto that he would be safe and I will keep my word, but at the same time I can't abide by what you all have done him. So as soon as we pay off what we owe, there is no more alliance. We have others willing to join us and protect us from other villages. At this time, we are only tempo allies. He smiled, which is more than you all deserve. Please let me explain everything. I know this seems bad and it is, but there is a reason you should listen. Tazuna frowned and listened in. Traitors in her court, her lord coming down to try the traitor, to find out about the prison he was in, and the horrors that were experienced at the hands of these rogue Sioux members. I thank you for telling me this, but my decision stands, as does my country. So even if you kill me, it won't matter, as this is the deal we agreed on as a nation. He frowned. However, you should know he was doing better. That is all I will say. Goodbye. Tazuna turned on his heel and walked out of the office with Tsunade putting her face into her hands. Great. Just fucking great. I wish I could kill those council members. Those fucking idiots don't realize the damage they have done. She sighed. We might not have a choice to reveal what happened to everyone. We don't have a choice either way. Jiraiya appeared on the other side of the room. While it was true he asked for the Anbu to leave, he didn't know about Jiraiya, so did abide by his wishes. They just played with his words a bit. What do you mean? The Lord, he has decreed he is going to reveal everything the council members have done. Soon the entire continent will know. Tsunade groaned and leaned back in her chair. Great, get me the brats from his generation. I think we need to nip this in the bud before it gets out. Got it. Jiraiya disappeared for a few minutes before returning with Naruto's generation and Konohamaru, who insisted on being there to hear about Naruto. He was one of the few people that really hated that he was treated as a monster and swore as the next Hokage that he would make sure Naruto is remembered as a true H. He would stand by him no matter what, and that was something he would fight for. It was making her happy that she had a successor in mind. I'm glad you are all here. She looked at the group. As you know, Naruto has been missing from the village and I'm not sure if you all know what happened. Sakura bit her lip in frustration. Hinata moped. Kiba was neutral and so were many in the room, but those that knew him were worried. There is a decree that is going out in a few days. The Lord is going to reveal everything that my former council members did to Naruto. I mean everything, and right now. Want you all to know the real reason why they did it and what he went through. Kakashi, who had a sad expression, held his hand up. Should we let Sasuke know about this? Tsunade sighed. He already knows. The group was shocked and angry. Why did the traitor? He was in the room when it happened. It was during his trial, and while I will admit letting him off with what he has is not something I would do, he did show remorse and accept his mistake, so I'm willing to give him one more chance. As that is something Naruto would want us to do. The group nodded. Now for those in the know, the Nine Tails attack devastated our village years ago. It even cost us the fourth Hokage. However, what you all don't know is that the Hokage, the tailed beast away. She looked at his picture on the other side of the room. While powerful and talented, there was no real way to stop the Biju other than through T. Most dangerous sealing method. So he used the Death Reaper seal to seal the Nine Tails into a baby. Shikamaru sighed. It was Naruto. Yes. The group was left stunned. The greatest natural disaster their village had faced, and Naruto had it sealed inside of him. Everyone was shocked beyond belief, but some of T. started to think about his life and realize there was a reason for it. The children distancing themselves from him, the way the adults looked and talked about him, and how teachers treated him. It made sense. How he was purposely singled out, how he was mistreated through his time at the school, and how he was trained in the wrong fashion and they were told not to help him. It made more sense, and some like Neji understood Naruto knew better than anyone what it meant to have a seal. His was worse than Neji's, if he let fate determine his life. What is the point of living? Lee on the other hand saw a fellow outcast who was never given a chance and he felt terrible he didn't stand up for him sooner. Kakashi frowned and could only apologize to Minato and Hiruzen for not doing better in teaching his team and taking care of Naruto when he had the chance. He was a cow. Admitted that much. He can make excuses, but at the end of the day he had the chance to be there for him. He just didn't do it because he had an excuse for it. I can see you all understand why the council did what they did, but we finally found out exactly where he was sent. He was sent to the blood prison in Kusa. The room was confused, most of the younger generation, and horrified and angry in the case of the older generation. Kakashi, his eyes filling with tears and his fist was clenched so tight that he was drawing out blood. Guy was growling at the thought of what Naruto went through in that horrible place. Kurenai, while not as close as the rest, was terrified of what he had seen and what was done to him. Asuma growled and was crushing his cigarette in his hand out of frustration. The blood prison. Tsunade turned to Sakura. It is considered the darkest prison in the entire world. It is where the worst of the worst are sent, to serve out their sentences without anyone. They are treated worse than slaves and treated as nothing more than afterthoughts. Naruto was sent there. Could you imagine what his time there was like? The group shivered, knowing that some of their parents told them what happens in some of those places and thinking Naruto went through all of that after being betrayed. Just went over to the trash can and heaved up their stomachs. We learned something else. The group turned to her. We found out that the box of eternal bliss, a dangerous and forbidden object from the age of the six paths, was found in the basement of the pre. The group was terrified by this news. The younger generation were told that they would be explained to each of them later, but for now the story was about Naruto. We have no proof, but we have someone that saw Naruto recently claim that he was there, and we think he was thrown into the box. How did he survive? Guy, we don't know. Honestly, we don't know. From the reports, the box was destroyed from the inside out. Something or someone busted out of the thing and destroyed T. Prison, murdering everyone in the crossfire. Everyone was shaken. Why you think it was Naruto? Everyone turned to Hinata, who was pale with puffy red eyes. Yes. Tsunade looked at them. It is the only logical conclusion we can make, but we don't know how he did it. At this time, I wanted to warn all of you, the details will be released through our Lord, so be prepared. Also, be prepared for changes, as many allies that we have thanks to Naruto are not going to be happy about this. Everyone in the room nodded. This was going to be a huge turning point for Konoha and the rest of the world. At least, the elemental nations, but they didn't know that. End of the year. Naruto and his brothers smirked across the bow of the ship. Our new journey and our new beginning. In a nearby abandoned airbender temple, Naruto was situated on the floor while meditating. He had been doing this more often in the last few years than he did before. Sukuna suggested this as a way to help deal with stress and to relax his body and his mind. Toads even supported this idea, stating it was a good way to relieve stress and it is important for training down the road. While he didn't understand what they were getting, accepted it as a good habit. The last 2 years had been great for him, and the bending nations turned out to be as great as he thought they would. He and his brothers started exploring the land and everything and anything they needed for long travel while understanding the new currency system. Buddha was reckless with money, so Beelzebub was put in charge of finances to make sure he didn't leave them broke due to his appetite. Both of his brothers did enjoy their time exploring the nations and seeing bending in action. But the thing they enjoyed more was finding out about the Air Temple and the history of the nations as they are currently. Apparently, the Avatar was rumored to be somewhere in the world, but no one knew where exactly. Some speculated that the boy that was supposed to be the Avatar was, while others assumed that he was in hiding somewhere in the spirit realm. Naruto speculated that possibly he was somewhere in the world because from what he gathered, body was never found. Meaning either he died doing something really stupid or he found some way to continue living without needing to eat or sleep. He wasn't sure exact where he would be, but he had to guess it was in one of the lesser countries that no one bothers. But that was kinda the end of the high points with the Avatar, as they learned that the Airbenders were wiped out a couple hundred years ago by the Fire Nation. The story that they did it to smoke out the Avatar and to make sure he never threatened their dynasty. However, they were skeptical, as there had to be more to it than that, given sounds like the child was completely isolated from the rest of the world. Left in a state where he never had a chance to really be a kid or grow up and making his own desi. It was annoying to think about, but there was nothing they could do other than explore the ruins. That is when Buddha found something in the temple, and in a rare moment, brothers saw irritation on his face. They could see a small vein form on his forehead and his teeth crunching the lollipop in his mouth. Buddha never got angry. That was the one thing they both knew since traveling with him for more than 2 years. It was rare to see him get angry at anything or anyone. He usually brushed it off or found a way to talk things out and become friends. But there were occasions where he could show his irritation with someone if they really were for it. However, this was rage. He never divulged what it was, but he did state, "We are going to need to look more into the Fire Nation history soon." Naruto and Beelzebub just agreed. There was no point in arguing with him. Like them, he was stubborn and he wouldn't budge on this topic. After a few days he calmed down, but he seemed to be reading everything they could find in the first Air Temple. From there they traveled to some other temples and found scripts that were hidden away, and he just seemed to get angrier as he read. As for them, Beelzebub got to study some people who could bend. He didn't come to any conclusions yet, but he did state that he was interested in learning more of how learn what elements they can bend or how they know they can bend. To him, it was a mystery he wanted to solve. On top of that, he wanted to know why it flowed differ chakra and why it seemed to be less dangerous to one than chakra. Naruto got to his studies. Mostly mastering his elemental releases and mastering his hand-to-hand skills. Genjutsu was just out of his reach due to the amount of chakra he had and the fact that he can't perform them. He knew how to see through them and dispel them, but he never be a master in this field like Buddha was. There was a day where he demonstrated it and explained that due to the raw amount of chakra Naruto has, there was no W. Him to actually master Genjutsu without literally balancing his chakra to the point of it being more detrimental. While this hurt, he accepted this and went to work on his arts. Of the 5 basic elements, Naruto had mastered 3 in the 2 years training and traveling, while almost mastering his 4th element. Fire and wind were easy enough to learn since he was closely aligned to them, while water was another he was working on during their time. Traveling across the ocean helped in his studies, and thanks to he mastered water releases faster than expected. Lighting proved to be difficult due to the fact that he wasn't very compatible with it, only earth was worse. Naruto had lighting down to where he could perform some moves with it, but he ends up overloading his body with this power. Meaning, too much lighting release and not enough control means bolts of electricity explode all around him. Earth release was the hardest to master as he didn't understand the basic principle of moving the earth. To him, he was just stuck in this area and decided to hold off until find a better teacher than Buddha. He too was stumped as this was his worst element as well, with water and lighting being his best. But the area he improved the most in and was proudest was his hand-to-hand. Between his battles with Buddha and Beelzebub and his spirit battles with Sukuna, he finally Kai blocking strikes down to a fine point. Plus he foregone his overpowering approach and settled for being more loose with his movement and more refined with his strikes. Was able to predict strikes better, and he was able to even use their own momentum against them. While he wasn't a master of it, he could now destroy people's arms and spots by hitting them in their Kai points. Thankfully, they were similar to chakra points, so he could get the positioning down quickly. But the biggest thing is that his style him to overload the nodes as well, causing them to simulate an explosion inside of their body. In terms of chakra, Buddha described it as unlocking the gates, but due to the output he makes, it was really draining. He estimates those with small reserves might fight harder and faster for maybe 5 minutes, but that is it. Then they might overdo, then die from the usage. Naruto had to admit he wanted to see how this would work if he did it on benders. But for now, he was just satisfied that his fighting style was coming together and that merging with Sukuna was going well. He already was starting to see the tattoos forming on his arm, signaling that they were becoming more entuned with one another. But Dark Chakra and his staff proved to be the hardest to master or use. Dark Chakra still was impossible for him to control, and his murderous impulses and dark emotion emerging too fast. So, studies of Dark Chakra were pushed off until he mastered all 5 elements, and he figures out the weakness he has yet to overcome. Not sure what Sukuna meant, but Naruto knew it was important. The staff was another thing. While he was able to use it and even defeat opponents with it, mostly bandits, he found he couldn't get it to activate. For some reason the staff want to do anything for him, and he was frustrated by it. But he figured that when the time comes it will help him. But for now, the brothers were relaxing in the temple and thinking about where they should go next. So, Buddha swinging his legs around while sitting on a high windowsill. I think we should head to Omashu. It is the nearest town to this temple, and let's be honest, we supplies. Naruto sighed. You just want to stock up on snacks. True. Naruto got to his feet and dusted off his robe. Well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to head to the nearest city so we can get supplies. But then I think we should go and check Fire Nation colonies that everyone is talking about. True. Beelzebub was lying on the floor. I heard that their creation is what sparked this conflict with the Earth Kingdom and other nations. Something about how they did belong and that balance needs to be maintained. Buddha rolled his eyes. Balance changes with each generation. What is balance in one era might not be balance in another. It makes me wish the people of these nations understand that, and let's be honest, the Earth Kingdom is big enough that it wouldn't miss some land. True. Naruto sighed. The kingdom was formed under some kind of king. Apparently he conquered all but Kyoshi Island, which broke off thanks to the avatar Kyoshi. Sup. She separated herself from the rest of them to protect her homeland, and now it is just an island in the middle of the sea. I heard in town that town where the king is from is not the biggest fan of her or the avatars of any generation. Makes sense. Buddha jumped down from his spot and yawned. They lost their king to someone that is viewed as a hero to everyone around them. But in reality, who Kane? The real reason she did what she did. He shrugged his shoulders, but back to the point, Omashu first and then we can go and check out those colonies. Naruto smiled. Yeah, I think this is going to be a fun trip. The three brothers proceeded to leave the air temple and begin their trek back into the Earth Kingdom and heading to the city of Omashu, not knowing the destiny that awa them. Konoha. The village had seen better days. 2 years, that is all it took for their village to suffer a serious fall from grace. Between Sasuke running off to Orochimaru, a man that murdered the third Hokage and attacked the village, and did crimes that are so evil no one dares speak of them, too. Council's actions and behavior, and finally the banishment of Naruto. The fire daimyo was furious after everything he learned from the council. The corruption in the school to the markets, to the politics, to the spies, everything. It was just staggering. He wondered why his brother never bothered to interfere before, but he guessed it was due to his lazy nature. To deal with this issue firsthand, he had all the council members hung from trees outside the royal capital with plaques for all that passed them, serving as a warning for that dared to commit harm to the innocent in his country, and to make sure the families know, this is their final warning. Afterwards he released everything: Naruto's imprisonment, his treatment at the hands of the village, the lies that were told about him, and why he was sent to the prison. First place. When people found out about the blood prison, there was so many emotions going on and confusion as to how he survived whatever happened inside. Speculate were running rampant about how he escaped, but the most shocking thing for everyone was the destruction of the box. No one knew how he did it, but they were thankful power couldn't be used anymore. However, that was the beginning of the troubles for Konoha. Koyuki, the ruler of the land of spring, came to Konoha, ripped into every single person in the room, and ended partnership with the village. Explaining her disgust and anger, she even shredded the Ika Ika movie script, putting Jiraiya in the hospital. Waterfall was doing their best to try and make amends with their tailed beast, but after learning of her horrible treatment, she was brought to the fire capital in order to her. The leader of Waterfall didn't want to do this, but he knew it was for the best. Plus, he knew there were those who would sell the poor girl if the chance came, and he want that feeling on his hands. The girl, Fu, was terrified to hear about what happened to Naruto, and she pitied him. But she swore that she would make the most of this second chance and began her into the shinobi world, with the fire daimyo providing all the support she can want. Suna had the worst time with Gaara. Not only did they have to stop him from coming to Konoha, but they had to deal with his mood swings. Gaara knew something was when he couldn't find Naruto on his visit to Konoha, but for some reason he couldn't bring himself to cause him trouble. Figuring he might just be out of the village as he never bothered to look into it, and that ate him up. The guilt of not actually trying to look into the matter killed him internally. But he swore he would make it up to him. Thus, when appointed as Kazekage, he ordered that the alliance with the Leaf be revised, stating that while they did have a hand in the invasion and won't deny his involvement, it was Naruto that stopped him. Not Sasuke, not the Junin. Naruto did that, and he gave him his life back. Made him believe in the people around him once more. For owes Naruto everything, and if the Leaf was going to treat him like that, he wanted to renegotiate their terms. The lords were more than willing to do so, and their lord managed to get them the better of the deal and helped improve Suna's standings to the point they were seen as a threat to anyone that dared to trifle with them. While their alliances were on thin ice, their trading business plummeted, they were losing money left and right, and they were struggling. Danzo managed to make sure their more shady contacts and partners stayed the course, but he also knew they needed legit resources. While he thought about removing certain people from power, he scratched the idea, knowing that would only bring more suspicion down on them and they couldn't afford it. So he settled for maintaining their more illegal and illicit dealing, while allowing Tsunade to manage everything else. Kaharu and Homura took a more active role, helping to manage the council, the civilians mostly, and also discussing changes to things such as the school and what is Avi. They started inputting more into the school, pushed back the graduation for this generation, and even added more courses so students understand what they are getting. Top of that, more Junin and Chunin were offering time to help with classes and thus improving the overall performance of the students. Also, graduation no longer required 3 moves, those were necessary to even attempt graduation, which is a field test. On top of that, they implemented Tsunade's desire for a med ninja program and had Shizune in charge of it, while also moving some of their finances around to help keep village stabilized and allocating to more important matters. Luckily they weren't in ruin, but they definitely were not in a great place. Tsunade, on the other hand, she was just upping the training of everyone in the village while also dealing with the mess related to Sasuke and the Akatsuki. Luckily since Naruto was in the wind, they didn't have to worry about them coming to the village again. However, they did send out reports of this group to the other villages all over continent to warn them if they showed up. Kumo appreciated it and even expressed interest in talks again with their new Raikage, assuring them that he would come with his brother and one guard only. Tsunade hoping to build new ties with the other villages. Iwa, they were silent at first, but eventually the third Tsuchikage sent her a letter thanking her for the information and asking about talks as well, stating that he felt it was to put some matters to rest when it came to the last war. He admits there are some that were still resentful, but he was past that. War was war. So that was some of the positives going on, but she knew with Sasuke now cleared to join the forces again, they were going to need to make some serious changes. Which, she was glad about this recent information. In her office she had Team 8. I'm glad you all showed up, I have a long-term mission for you. The 4 nodded. This mission will take you to a new continent known as the Bending Nations. We were formally requested by a man that rules over what is called the North Pole. Apparently he is concerned with a sensitive matter in their lands and want our help. What exactly is the matter? Kurenai was worried what she was getting into. While long-term jobs were fine, she didn't want to be doing a job they weren't good at. It is a protection job for one avatar. Apparently he is some kind of messiah in training or something. He just saved them back in the North Pole recently, and that he was traveling to what they call the Earth Kingdom. Apparently, there is a war with them and another nation known as the Fire Nation. They are at each other's throats and just getting worse as time passes. So, they want our help in protecting the child until he can fulfill his destiny of saving them all. Ma'am, no offense, but shouldn't you send a team like Team Guy or even Team 7? They are more equipped in dealing with combat situations and long-term bodyguard were. Tsunade shook her head. Normally you're right, but Team Guy is currently unavailable due to the upcoming treaty talk with Kumo and fears that Neji might lash out. Hiashiya, for him to stick close to him in hopes of getting something back from their nation, while at the same time, they thought it best Hinata be gone while this is going on. Espec. After what happened with the previous Raikage, Kurenai sighed and knew this was a good reason. As for Team 7, they are currently on suspension, remember? Sasuke might have joined back up with his old team, but he is still not allowed to go anywhere. He is still monned to train in the village until we can be assured he is not a flight risk. She also knew that Orochimaru was waiting for another chance to get Sasuke, but she knew the less know the better. Kurenai conceded the point. When do we leave? Tsunade handed them a scroll. Pack for long term. Jiraiya luckily has contacts out that way due to him traveling there for inspiration, about a year ago. Apparently due to the trip he is now helping us be. Gap, and due to something that happened, the tribe leader in the north apparently knew how to contact us. I see. Kurenai shook her head, figures it be this case. She just hoped whatever contact he made didn't cause unnecessary tension with the women of the Northern Water. This scroll will transport you to the Northern Water tribe leader and he will point you in the right direction. The 4 nodded and exited the office to say their goodbyes before heading out. Tsunade just hoped this mission went smoothly, not knowing of the collision course that was coming. Flying high in the sky was a white and brown bison creature with multiple legs, horns, and a saddle on his back. It had a long tail that hung behind him loosely while waving time to help keep them flying. The creature in particular was known as a sky bison, once a prominent creature that flew through the skies all over the nation, but the fall of the airbenders they became harder to find. But this one happened to be carrying the most interesting passengers. The first was a young man about 17, dark brown skin, hair tied up in a ponytail, wearing a blue tunic and brown pants with a boomerang strapped to his back. This man dark brown eyes and a pair of sandals on his feet. Next to him was a girl that was about 16 and she is wearing a blue dress tunic, covering her legs minus a slit in the middle allowing her free movement. She had her hair in braids with her brown hair coming all the way around her hair with blue ornaments hanging in her hair. She had brown eyes like her male friend and seemed to admire sights around her as they flew through the air. The last one was a 15-year-old boy. He was bald. He had blue arrow tattoos over his body, wearing a orange and red monk's outfit. He had a staff next to him and was onto the reins of the creature. He was dressed as one would as a monk and had a white fur creature at his side that was a spider lemur, race check. The creature was next to his owner and just staring ahead. Hey, the girl looked down at the ground below. There is someone down there and I think they are trying to wave us down. Aang, the bald child, looked over the side of the bison confirming what Katara, the girl, was seeing. I see. Maybe they are trying to tell us something important. Aang quickly took his reins and steered his bison down. Appa yip, yip. The creature groaned before changing directions to the ground below. The beast in question flew steadily down to the ground. Once landing, Aang hopped off his friend and stood there with his staff in hand. Greetings. The man dressed in a green uniform. It is an honor to meet you, Avatar Aang. Greetings. Aang gave his goofy smile while Katara walked up to him with Sokka pulling up the rear. Also good to see you as well, the mighty Katara. Katara gained a smug smile. The mighty Katara. I could get used to that. Sokka rolled his eyes at his friend and his sister. But he narrowed his eyes staring at the group of men before them talking to Aang about meeting a man named General Fong. Hearing this, he was concerned what this mean. Ever since they left the North Pole, Sokka knew that word was going to get around about the Avatar and his traveling bison. More, he knew that people were going and use Aang for their own selfish desires and wishes. While he understood people had their reasons, he knew that not everyone was looking for what was best for Aang. Sokka knew Aang was gullible and was easy to sway to someone's side. Plus, he was more than willing to do things to better everyone else's lives while not caring for his own. Sometimes that selfless attitude was nice, but he did think that sometimes was too trusting. Like he was with Jet, he had suspicions about what he was really up to, but his and Aang were just too trusting of the man, thinking that he couldn't do anything wrong and that he was a victim. While true he was, it was not at the hands of the villagers below but at the hands of the Fire Nation soldiers that attacked long ago. Sokka could hate the idea of the Fire Nat. He knew not everyone from the place deserved to be punished for the ideals of their leader. It was one of the reasons he was always so paranoid and concerned, because almost always had to do double the work for everyone around him. Especially when it came to his sister being all too eager to do things her way. Not caring who got hurt process or that sometimes her decisions were very naive, but he would hold his tongue for now and see what is going to happen. The troops lead the group into a meeting with a long-bearded man wearing an Earthbender's general outfit. Greetings, Avatar Aang and company. I'm glad that you could all arrive here safely. We have gotten reports about what happened in the North Pole. Aang nodded. Yes, the encounter was. The man stood up. Aang, I think you are ready to face the Fire Lord. Sokka's eyes widened and right there, he knew what he was after. Katara was quick to jump to her feet. You're crazy. Aang is nowhere near ready to face the Fire Lord. Yeah, besides, the only reason that I was successful in the Northern Water Tribe was. Yes, your avatar state, when you do all that glowing. He waved his hands around. With that power you could easily defeat the Fire Lord and bring an end to the war. Sokka looked and saw that his sister was angry and upset while Aang was conflicted. Aang, you can't be seriously considering this. I mean, he is basically saying we should just rush straight to the Fire Nation and fight them head on. We don't even have AP. Right, Sokka? He nodded. The general frowned. I understand your hesitance, and if this is not the path you want to follow, I understand, but I want to show you something. He motioned them to follow him. Walking through the barracks, they arrived at a door, where he opened it, revealing it to be a giant infirmary. Many of the soldiers were injured, scarred, or unconscious from the pain they were dealing with. Doctors were rushing from patient to patient, trying their best to help Allah. Their symptoms. This is the result of a Fire Nation attack. Many of my men are heavily injured and can't afford to move out anytime soon. The longer this war drags on, the worse it is going become. Aang frowned at the sight and soon was left to his own devices. Katara and Sokka joined him in another room where they had time to talk. Aang, as bad as it is, we need to keep moving. Katara, I know, but you saw them. Yes, I did, but come on. Can you honestly say that this is the right path to victory? She waved her hands around. You just learned how to master water bending, you don't know how to use the other two elements. But with the Avatar state, maybe I could defeat the Fire Lord and end the war sooner. Katara turned to her brother, who was staring outside the window watching the troops train below. Sokka, aren't you going to say anything? Aang and the general aren't wrong, but... Katara scoffed. Whatever. If you idiots want to rush into something stupid, feel free to do so. Just don't ask me to help. Katara watched as Aang turned on his heels. I have to do something, Katara. He walked out of the room and Katara growled in annoyance. This always happened. Whenever he sees people heavily injured due to war. Seems to just gravitate to being their problem solver. Why didn't you stop him? She turned to her brother. You know that this is reckless. Sokka turned to her. I know. Which is why I was about to say that while I agree that Aang and the general are right, we have to face facts. Aang was just lucky in the number. Pull. If he didn't have some kind of spirit guide through that whole mess, who knows what could have happened. He frowned. Plus, even with the return of the spirits for Moon, we still don't know the full extent of the Avatar state. Hell, Aang doesn't remember anything from his time in that state and doesn't seem to be in control. For all we know, he could end up killing us in the crossfire. Katara sighed. At least you see reason. But why didn't you? Because you cut me off. Sokka glared at her, making her sheepish. But at the end of the day, it is Aang's decision. He rubbed his chin. Also, I guess a stop for a few days would be a good thing. Give us time to find out what is going on in the Earth Kingdom since we were last here. Plus, we can restock on any supplies we might need and info of any major changes. Katara sighed. She knew her brother was thinking for the group, but sometimes she wished he would just help her. He wanted Aang to go through this whole process. But what good would come from it other than making him more frustrated that he can't use it? She figured she just watch from the distance for now. Walking out of the room, she left Sokka alone, but he was looking back at the troops and noticed how few there were for such a huge fortress. He had to wonder, what happened to most of the army? Heading out of the room, he decided to get started on gathering information and gathering resources for the road ahead. Time skip. They had been at the fortress for at least 3 days. Aang had agreed with the general's plan of activating the Avatar state, but nothing they did worked. They tried all weird methods and expected methods to use its power. But Aang couldn't summon the power no matter how hard he tried, and even tried recreating the feeling he had using it. Sadly, nothing worked and he was left feeling depressed. He needed this power if he hoped to defeat the Fire Lord and bring peace to the realm. But how can he do that when the power he needs is out of his reach? Walking through the hall, he saw Sokka sitting against the wall with a frown on his face. What? Aang glared. Are you here to criticize me? Sokka shook his head. No, I'm just here to talk, that's all. I got a message from the Northern Water Tribe. Huh? How did they know we were here? Sokka shrugged. My guess is that they knew this would be one of the locations we would have to reach, but another reason is that there was a falcon of some kind that found us. My guess. They used some means of tracking us with the bird to pull this off. He rubbed the back of his neck. Anyway, the letter was interesting. Apparently they were sending us a group, from what I gathered. They apparently were hired to protect us during this journey, to assist you on the trip through the nations, making sure you can do your J. Aang frowned. Where are they from? Don't know. I just know they are supposedly really dependable and they are on their way. They should be here soon. Aang sighed. Great, more things to think about. Aang, you need to relax. Master the Avatar state was never going to be easy. Sokka, I need to master it now. He waved his hands around. You saw those soldiers and you have seen what the Fire Nation has done. If unlocking this power is what we have to pursue it. You mean it is the quickest solution you can come up with? Sokka stared at the angry bald teen. Aang, sit down. Motioning to the stool in front of him. I don't. You have time now, sit. Aang frowned before taking a seat. Look. Sokka sighed before putting his hands on his knees. I talked to some of the soldiers here and I learned some interesting things. Like, have you noticed as big as place is, there is not enough troops to occupy this place. Yeah, but he said he was losing it to the Fire Nation. Sokka shook his head. Aang, they have been attacking caravans for the Fire Nation colonies. What? Yeah, one of the soldiers told us that the general ordered an attack a month ago, sending out a large group of troops to destroy and capture anyone and anything from a nation caravan heading to the colonies. At first I thought it was more about troops in movement, but I found out that they were just civilians coming back from a trade to a nearby town. Aang frowned. He didn't know that. Why would the general neglect to inform him of this? I learned that when they attacked there was 3 people guarding the caravan other than some off-duty soldiers. The 3 boys slaughtered most of the troops one eve. It with nothing more than Kai blocking movements. He shivered. From the 2,000 soldiers they sent, only 100 returned. Aang paled. They killed that many. Yeah, apparently, it was quite the massacre. So much so, he had to rebuild his troops and hide what he did. But the soldiers still talk about it when he is not listening. He sighed, which is one of the reasons I think he is trying to use you in the Avatar state. With you by his side he can save face at the expense of the massacre. I get it. But still, I have to do something. Sokka, the war has been going on for hundreds of years. I need to end it. Aang, what if you did have the Avatar state? How are you sure that will be enough? I mean, think about it this way. You know I love my boomerang, right? He held his Wii out. Imagine I threw it and it didn't come back to me. I would be defenseless, no way to protect myself from any of my enemies. That could be the same scenario for you. Don't know how to stop yourself when you're in that state. What good are you on the front lines? What? Aang, the last time you used that form you were in a berserk state of mind. You were lucky there were spirits around to help keep down your temperament, or it could have worse with you accidentally killing innocent people. Aang bit his lip. As much as he wanted to counter the point, he knew Sokka was right. Do you think that maybe I should go back to learning the other elements first? Sokka smiled. It is what the others did. There must be something to that method that we are not seeing yet. If we do this, I think we will find the answer to how to counter Avatar state. Aang smiled. Okay, I'll inform the general tomorrow we are leaving. Good. I think our guard will be here tomorrow, so we should be able to leave then. Sokka watched as Aang went off to find Katara to inform her of his decision, and he sighed, happy that they were going to get moving again. But he did have to worry. Would the general let them leave that easily? The man was determined to use Aang as a weapon of mass destruction. Thinking if he was in the A state he was unstoppable. But Sokka knew from just his gut and what he learned of spirits during his short time traveling with Aang there was more to it than just a boost. There had to be. He knew Katara was more worried about Aang's well-being and his desire to help people that sometimes gets them into trouble. Sokka was more worried about just how they were going to leave without a fight breaking out. Next day, Sokka and his sister were waiting by Appa where they saw the general talking to Aang. But they saw the man was getting agitated and started yelling at Aang about some. But Aang was standing his ground as best as he could before. He turned from the man and walked their way. However, the minute he did, the man bent some earth and knocked him over. Aang. Katara quickly unleashed some water in her bottle and sent it at the general. The man blocked the attack with some earth he bent into a wall. Katara quickly gathered the water back up and started attacking the man. Sokka was about to rush in and help, but he saw the troopers in his way. He frowned and reached for his weapon, only for some earth to hit him in the stomach, knocking the ground. Stay down, water triber. One trooper put his boot on the back of his head. Stop. Aang was reaching out for Sokka but then heard Katara grunt before seeing her sink into the earth. Please stop it. I don't see any glowing. He slowly sunk her further into the earth. You don't have to do this. The general frowned before moving his hand again and making her sink completely below the earth. Apparently I do. Aang saw Katara disappear. His mind went blank and soon he started glowing. His body was floating in the air and his eyes were white. Yes. The general smiled brightly. It worked. This is how you can. Activate this power. He quickly bent the earth, releasing Katara from her prison. You see, the pain of your loved ones is the key. The man went stiff and fell to the ground. How revolting that you would resort to such cruel methods. Out from his shadow emerged a young girl wearing a heavy coat and purple pants and sandals with lavender. You are the worst kind of person. Seriously. What do we do? Kiba frowned. His dog was whimpering. The kid is glowing and I don't think he is seeing anyone friendly right now. Shino, in his heavy overcoat, nodded. Yes, this is a concern and my bugs can't get close to him. Kurenai frowned. We have no choice, we have to find a way to reach him. Kurenai went through some subtle hand signs and quickly casted a genjutsu on him, hoping that if he sees more pleasant images maybe he will calm down. Hinata got in position behind him with her eyes activated. All the power is flowing through his back into his neck, if I hit it just right. She quickly prepped herself while taking a deep breath. In a blur she appeared behind Aang and touched the back of his neck. His body went stiff and soon he collapsed to the ground. Luckily Akamaru caught him before he hit the ground. Okay, looks like he is okay. Kiba frowned, but he is still glowing, is that a good thing? Halt. The three turned to see the Earth Kingdom soldiers taking stances. How dare you interfere in our goal of ending this war? Kurenai shook her head, by exploiting him. Triggering an emotional reaction out of him. Trying to force a power out that you can't control or he can't control. That is wreck. And you know it. She started subtly making hand signs. You don't get to judge us, you filthy outsiders. One soldier took a step forward but soon found himself in a daze. Genjutsu. Passionate viewing. Kurenai sighed. This technique would keep the troops busy while they load up and leave. We have to go now. Her team nodded and quickly gathered the others and loaded onto Appa, which Sokka took control and quickly made them fly off into the sky. Katara rested Aang's head on lap, looking on confused and concerned as the glowing had stopped but he was out. Thank you. She turned to the group. You saved us, but who are you? Kurenai smiled. We were hired by the Northern Water Tribe to protect you. Protect us? Yes, I'll start from the beginning. Aang, on the other hand, was having his own spirit journey. He met the last Avatar Roku, who explained everything to him. What the Avatar state was, the importance the danger that lurked if you died in this state. He even explained the vague history of the war before sending Aang off. Leave it to Roku to leave out one important detail. Aang looked behind and saw a being dressed in a dark cloak. Their face was covered where he couldn't see who he was. Not even his eyes. The man was imposing. The fig was muscular and seemed to radiate power. Who are you? The man rubbed his chin, his hands covered in black and blue wraps. That is a hard question to answer. Considering you don't need to know who I am, I guess you could. Me, Yang. Okay. Now then, I wanted to pass on a little advice to you, Aang. Beware who you trust. Because even someone's memories can lie. What do you mean? The bin waved. You'll see in time. Until next time. Wait. Aang soon awoke on Katara's lap and them flying through the air. He wondered, who was that? Naruto and his brothers were crossing over the trail and saw the city of Omashu. Well, that's depressing. Naruto looked at the entrance to the city. On the front of the city was a giant flag, the Fire Nation flag. Well, it would seem that the kingdom fell. Buddha chewed on his gum. So does this mean that the Earth Kingdom is in trouble? Naruto shrugged. My guess is that as long as the capital lasts, they'll be fine. Naruto raised his hands above his head, but either way we should head in. Arriving at the front gate, the brothers talked to the guards and soon were allowed into the city. Upon entering the city, Naruto noticed that most things were working as b. The market was still flourishing, traders were still active, and it seemed the citizens were getting along well enough. Overall, it didn't look like anything happened other than invasion coming to their doorstep. Buddha looked around. It seems that there was no conflict here. Or at least the tension died really quick. Beelzebub shook his head. No, my guess is that the city surrendered before the forces arrived. Which is why I think we don't see any mass pile-ups of corpses and dead people in the street. Naruto tilted his head. Makes sense. If you know you can't win a straight-out confrontation, throwing your lives away is stupid. True. Buddha looked and went over to one of the stalls, talking to the owner and trading some money for more food. I wonder who is running the city. Word was that the city was ran by a King Bumi. I heard that he is known as the Mad King and heralded as one of the strongest warriors in the entire city. Not just that, but earth-bending skills are said to be second to no one in the world. Mad King. Beelzebub raised an eyebrow. How is he known as the Mad King? From the rumors, he makes people think outside the box and comes up with the craziest ideas. But at the same time, he is known for his tactics that literally have turned Tide of war against someone in a flash. Plus I heard he is a talent at playing board games and is known as one of the top players of Go. You did a lot of research. Naruto shrugged. Better to know the terrain and the people that run it. Last thing we need is another run-in with a local warlord Buddha. He glared at him. Buddha, taking a break from his snacks, gained a question mark. What? Naruto sighed. Walking through the market, the brothers quickly got some supplies and materials while also getting info about the invasion and how it went. Supposedly, Bumi surrendered. No fight, no resistance, he just gave up right off the bat. While the brothers were confused by this method of combat, Naruto had suspicion. Why he did it. But he wanted to convey this with the king himself, but he doubted that would happen. No doubt they have him locked up somewhere far out of sight and have him under tight guard. Plus they probably are restraining him in a way he can't use his bending. That was the one thing Naruto always noticed. If they couldn't move their hands or bodies in any shape way, they can't bend. Plus in certain situations they can't even use bending depending on their alignment. Such as earth bending. No earth, then you can't bend. Meaning that if you were put into a metal container or even a wooden one, no way out. But Naruto was sure there was a method of escape, but that was not important. If Bumi did surrender, Naruto was sure that there were others that didn't agree with the tactic and were planning on attacking the leaders to get their king back and take their city. Fools, that is all Naruto could think in the moment. Naruto looked up and saw some Fire Nation soldiers decked out in their armor, and they seemed to be escorting a woman carrying a baby and a teenage girl. She looked too about his age and had her hair in buns while wearing a Fire Nation dress. The girl had a sour look on her face and seemed to be looking for anything interesting. The woman was smiling at the girl and Naruto couldn't make out what she was saying, but it would seem it was some kind of disagreement. Hey. Naruto turned and saw Buddha motion with his head. Naruto narrowed his eyes and nodded. He swiftly pushed through the stalls and crowd and arrived near the end of the market district. Death to the Fire Nation. Men dressed in robes quickly bent some rocks and stones, sending them flying through the air. The woman on the stairs gasped at the sight of the attack, and the younger girl was pulling something out of her sleeve. However, Beelzebub appeared in midair before holding out his hands. The stones hit his palms and, using his power, caused them to explode on impact. He landed next to the woman and her children. Are you three all right? The older woman smiled and held her son close. Yes, thank you for saving us. Traitor. Looking down, Beelzebub glared at the cloaked men. You're the ones attacking an innocent woman and her children. You would murder a toddler and a young girl just because of the nation they hail from. The man in the lead growled. They are murderers. They entered our home and took over our kingdom. They have no right to be here. Especially when it is her husband that is oppressing us. Naruto picked his ear and appeared near one of them in the back. How are they oppressing you? The man turned and soon he shouted they were surrounded. I mean, you guys aren't out of your homes, no one was pointlessly killed, can do what you like if you don't cause trouble. It seems to me that you're the ones creating trouble for everyone here. No one asked you, outsider. He threw a punch at Naruto's face. He just slapped the punch down before poking him in the shoulder, making his arm go limp. What did you? Naruto poked his neck, causing his to stiffen and fall over in a heap. Well, that was disappointing. Was hoping for more when it comes to the benders in this nation. The other men roared and rushed him. Naruto swatted away all their punches and pivoted around their movements. Man, these guys are slow, but then again earth benders have to be firm and direct. So, I guess they wouldn't be anything but strong. They could be a little faster. He hits the others in points of their necks, flips one of them, stomps on his throat, Kai strikes another opponent, and then knocks out the last guy beneath him. By the end of the confrontation, Naruto and his brothers managed to capture 5 men in total. Naruto had them all stunned on the ground. The crowd had dispersed and the woman and her children approached them with Beelzebub. Are you alright? The woman had a frown on her face. What was supposed to be a nice stroll around the city, getting some fresh air, turned into a near assassination attempt. She was horrified that children no older than her daughter had to step in and save her and her children. But she was grateful nevertheless. We're fine, how are you and your children? Naruto looked over at the kids with one twirling a knife on her finger with a somewhat bored expression. But he could see she ready to fire at a moment's notice. We are fine. She bowed her head. Thank you for saving us. I know that those men were coming to harm us. Naruto shrugged while Buddha walked back over. Hey bro, looks like the rest of them escaped. How shouldn't you have been able to catch them quickly? Buddha shrugged at Beelzebub. Apparently someone made a water attack and I was busy blocking it that they managed to escape. Too much activity in that area, which I can't track them. Water. Naruto was confused. What was a water bender doing in town? He would think on that later, turning back to the family, and bowing. Please forgive us for acting out in town. It is fine and don't bow please. She smiled. I owe you my life. Yeah, it was cool how you jumped in. The girl with the knife smiled slightly. Got to tell us how you stopped those boulders though dark and gloomy. Beelzebub raised an eyebrow. You're one to talk. The girl laughed lightly. True. My please. She sighed. Please forgive my daughter, she can sometimes be very blunt. Naruto waved it off. I welcome it. Sometimes it is nice when people tell you how they feel instead of hiding it. Well, either way, thank you. My name is Michi and these are my son Tom Tom and my daughter Mai. We are the family of the current governor of New Ozai. New Ozai. Naruto looked at the family. You mean Omashu? The woman sighed. It is called New Ozai now due to the politics that be in my husband who is hoping to suck up to the Fire Lord. I see. Naruto sweat dropped. He was pretty sure that the Lord didn't care what he called the city. Only that he could hold the city and do his bidding without question. I'm currently trying to find something interesting in town to do. Her mother gave a forceful warning. Well, I guess then it is time for our introductions. Naruto pointed to his brothers. These are my brothers Buddha. He waved while holding a bag of chips, which no one k. Where he hid it, and Beelzebub, the black-haired teen. Nodded. My name is Naruto. Mai looked at them. You guys sure don't look like brothers. Mai. It's fine. Buddha waved it off. We get that when people learn we are brothers. We aren't blood related but to us, we are family. We stick together no matter what. He put his arms around his brothers who both gagged at his breath. He apparently went with another weird flavored chip set. Mai smiled. It kinda reminded her of Azula and Tai Li. While most would think that their relationship was built more on fear, the truth is that she did love those two as her sisters. Tai Li was always energetic and willing to drag her into things even if she didn't want to do it. But she always found some way to have fun. Azula on the other hand, while she was cold and calculating, there was a time she found out the reason for it. Since then she tried her best to be there for her friend but sometimes her cruelty came out and it was something that bothered her. Well, Michi smiled. Please, I would like you boys to meet my husband. I'm sure that saving my life will grant you a reward. Naruto looked at his brothers and they shrugged their shoulders, figuring there was no harm. Sure. Naruto smiled. Please lead the way, my lady. Michi smiled and guided them to what used to be the castle which held the king of Omashu. Aang and his group entering the city hours before. Aang looked on in horror. Omashu had fallen. No. Katara walked over to Aang. Aang, we need to get moving. With Omashu conquered, only the capital city is safe now. Kurenai frowned. She's right, we need to get moving. Chances are someone might have seen us flying through the sky, and if it is Aspire, someone from the Fire Nation, they'll know soon. Here. Hinata nodded. Which means we might have attackers coming for us if they saw us land. Aang shook his head. No, I have to go into Omashu, I need to find my friend. Aang, we don't even know. What Sokka? He turned, glaring at him with Katara giving him a stink eye. We don't even know if he is alive. Sokka held his hands up. Look, I know he is your friend, but if we go into that city and they find out who you are, we are going to be in trouble. Plus, we don't know everything going on in there and the last thing we need to do is start a riot. Shino nodded. Sokka is right, if we end up starting something in the middle of town or something happens, we could potentially put the civilians in danger. They would soof the hands of the Fire Nation. Aang looked down. I know there is a risk, but I can't just leave him here. I need to see him and make sure he is okay. Sokka sighed. Sometimes Aang's desire to be a friend was a curse and he knew this is not going to go as well as they hoped. Walking to the city, they found a way in through the sewer system while avoiding the slugs that seemed to pollute the sewer. Aang mentioned they were harmless and just covered you in their slime and guck. Nothing more, but that still didn't stop Sokka and others' desire to get out of the sewer faster. Entering the streets, They slowly moved through the crowds of people and started looking for possible sites for where Bumi is hidden. Until they reached the market and saw a couple of Fire Nation soldiers guarding a woman and her children. Must be the relatives of the current ruler. Sokka frowned. We should get out of here before death to the Fire Nation. They turned and their eyes widened when they saw earthbenders wearing cloaks sending boulders at the woman. Are they insane? Kiba growled. If they kill them, then the city is going to pay for it. They're patriots. Shino frowned. They are too blinded by the idea of defeating their enemy, they don't think of the consequences. Kurenai was about to do something until she saw a black-haired teen appear in front of the family and stop the boulders just by touching them. She then sensed chakra explode out of the palm of his hands, causing them to fall to pieces. What? Kurenai couldn't wrap her head around it. What are chakra users doing on this side of the world? As far as they knew, only benders were here, not chakra users. This could complicate things. While she was confident with their skills they could deal with the benders if necessary since they have no resistance to illusions and alike, she was more worried now that users were here. But then she saw the other benders attacking someone. He was swatting away their attacks and after dispatching one he was dealing with the group. He seemed to be win the fight easily and was hitting certain points on their body, leaving them immobile while standing on the throat of another. Wait, that body type and that hair. She narrowed her eyes. It couldn't be. Guys. Everyone turned and their eyes widened when they saw Aang leading some of the earth benders away from the fighting. We're leaving. Kurenai cursed. Everyone retreat. The group took after the airbender and the attackers, but they soon sensed someone behind them. Turning their heads they saw a young man with large white hair chasing them while maintaining a bored expression. Kurenai tried doing some hand signs, but Katara bended some water from nearby spots and quickly casted them at the man. He just dodged and weaved under the attacks and was keeping pace, but then when she formed an ice wall he stopped. The group quickly ran down the street and into another part of town, following Aang and the earth benders, who apparently were remnants of the King's Guard, and he'd hideout of some kind. Once they showed them the secret entrance they entered with Aang the first to ask. Who are you guys? The man in the cloak glared. We're the Resistance, kid. We are trying to take back our city from those fire-bending bastards. Kurenai frowned, and killing that woman and children is part of this. You wouldn't understand, outsider. He gripped his fist. Those three were the offspring and wife of that bastard governor. If we took them out, then we would have a shonk. Take back our city. Or you would have gotten more people killed. Kiba had his hands behind his head with Akamaru barking on confirmation. If you killed them, all you would do is put your citizens in danger and probably have some of them killed in the process. Then so be it. If that means Omashu is free, then sacrifices are necessary. Aang looked around. Where's Bumi? Is he leading you guys? No, he was captured when they arrived. We were ready. We were willing to fight for our king and our kingdom. But Bumi decided to surrender to them and he got locked somewhere. Kurenai frowned. Probably somewhere under a lot of guards and probably where he can't bend. Aang frowned. I should still go looking for him. Aang, how exactly are you going to do that? Simple, I'm going to get on my glider. Sokka held his hand up. Idiot. He looked at him. Don't you think the Fire Nation troops are on edge after this? They are going to be looking everywhere and anywhere for slightest disturbance. You can't honestly think that flying around the city looking for your friend is a good idea. Well, Aang started looking at his feet. Look. Sokka put his hand on his shoulders. I get it, he's your friend and you want to find him. But right now, that doesn't seem like an option. You did come here, Origina, to make sure he was alive, right? We have confirmation, so we accomplished that goal. I can't just leave Sokka. We might not have a choice. An assassination attempt on the governor's family. They are going to be scrutinizing everyone. Aang frowned and walked off. Sokka just sighed. Sheesh, he just needs to look at the facts. You could have been nicer about it. Katara walked up with a frown on her face. He is just worried. Katara, we are not in a situation where we can just be reckless. If you haven't noticed, we are in the heart of a Fire Nation takeover and they are looking for anything that can validate for killing people. He turned to the troops. So what exactly is your strategy? The man frowned. Not that it is any of your business, but we are planning on launching another surprise attack against the governor, but we heard that the princess is going be here, so we might take her out too. Kurenai shook her head. You do that and you might as well bury the city yourself. You kill them, all you're doing is asking for the Fire Nation to murder and mutilate Everio. No. This city will be turned to rubble and nothing will be saved other than the screams of your people. As I said before, who asked you, outsider? Kurenai sighed. Sometimes men are such blockheads. Look, Aang held his hands up. If Bumi is in the city, there is a reason for it. He always has some kind of scheme or plan going on in his head. But the thing is, we don't Kane. Attacking will affect the plan. So instead, let's do something else. Like what? Leave the city. Leave this as our home. You're asking us to take the coward's way out. No. Aang held his hands up, trying to dissuade the yelling man. That's not it. Think about it. You guys don't have the means of winning this fight yet. So it would be best. As many of your people out as you can. That way you can all regroup somewhere else and strategize how to take back your city. The leader frowned harder. And how exactly are we going to do that? All the entrances to the city are under heavy monitoring and there is no way for us to just evacuate most of the city without Som noticing. Plus we need a valid excuse to get the civilians out of the city. Another pointed out. Suckers. Sokka smiled. I think I know the best way to get everyone out of here. Team 8 just knew, it was not going to be that simple. Governor's home. Thank you three so much for saving my family. I'm truly in your debt. It was nothing. Naruto looked at the spread in front of them. Please though forgive my brother, he doesn't exactly do table manners. Everyone turned to Buddha, who was just eating wildly before looking up. What? It is good food. Tom laughed at this and clapped his hands at the man and he just smirked. Naruto rolled his eyes. Yeah, you're a genius to a baby, congrats. Still smarter than you. Naruto smirked. Keep telling yourself that. The governor smiled. Be that as it is, I do owe all of you a great deal of gratitude. If there is any way I can help all of you, please don't hesitate to ask. I'll keep that in mind, but do you mind if I ask you a question? Of course. Who is the woman waiting outside the door? The room turned and as soon as the door opened, the man got up and bowed to the woman, with the others doing the same minus
Naruto and his brothers. Standing there, black hair girl with gold eyes, her hair up in a bonnet with the Fire Nation symbol holding it in place. Her hair was immaculate and her body was well defined. She had a femme allure, but at the same time she showed she was ready for a fight. Next to her was a girl with braided hair wearing a revealing pink outfit with a smile on her face. Greetings, princess. Naruto raised an eyebrow. This dinner was about to get more interesting.